Hello, hello, welcome everybody. I'm Jev. Yes, Triple V. The accent, by the way, is purely Kiwi. I read old stories for children, so we keep this a family-friendly channel by having bad word blockers, banning bots, and preventing spam. So that means new followers need to wait a few minutes before they can join in the chat. Since these stories are so old, they're now in the public domain, which means they are free to read for anyone and by anyone, the way many Christmas songs are. The digital versions I read are from Project Gutenberg, and you'll find the link for that below. The physical ones are just old books my family has lying around. Sometimes I'll even show them to you. These, by the way, are live reads. Think of them as bedtime stories rather than actual audiobooks. You get the benefits of my mistakes, distractions, explanations, and terrible attempts at accents, along with plenty of chat and interruptions as we find out about things in the story. If you need to do work or chores, then that's fine. Just come and lurk. Please adjust your volume to suit. There are captions available if you have to be quiet or you have hearing challenges, but be warned, sometimes the captions aren't always that accurate. I am a member of the Codex, an awesome group of reading streamers on Twitch. People from many walks of life who share their love of reading, and you'll find links to the Codex reading team and our Discord server below. A special feature of the Codex Discord is the security channel for those of you who stream or moderate. You'll find lots of practical, useful information to help keep your stream and your community safe. So, hang around and come discover adventure with me. You never know what we'll find.
everybody, I'm here. Yay, I made it. And yes, the hair is being extra weird today, probably because I haven't tidied it up since when I first got it, which is way too early because, yeah, student order in the house who is still getting used to being in New Zealand and things running differently and being distracted by phone, tablet, or laptop or anything else like that, like the rest of us do. So yeah, I can't just sort of let them get up and get themselves off to school, because also, you know, that's just a bit rude, leaving someone to do all that on their own, even though technically they're probably capable of it. I don't know. I don't really like leaving kids to deal with all of that on their own, especially if they're living with people who aren't even their own family, and they're in another country. I think it's, you know, at least polite to be involved with whatever you can, even if it's just being the external memory, a reminder that, hey, don't forget you've got to get this done. Did you get your lunch packed today? All that sort of stuff. So, hi, how are you? How are you doing? And I've just realised my microphone is way over the other side of the room. Not quite, but nearly. That's better. You should be able to hear me better now anyway. Thank you, everybody, for not telling me that and making me feel terrible. What else? Today's the last read from Nancy Drew. Next time I will be playing Palia, unless there's some major going on, which means that it's not actually loading properly or anything like that. I will keep an eye on their Discord and just sort of see what people are saying, because sometimes when they do a really big update, like with most games, the first day or two afterwards can be a little bit squirrely. So we'll see what happens. I'm not sure what the story is going to be. I wasn't expecting it to be available till Friday, because a lot of the game updates for big updates that I've with the games I've played, usually they drop on a Thursday, so they're not available till Friday. This one's happening tomorrow, middle of the night through to very early in the morning my time. So we'll just see what happens. If I can get into the game, we'll play it, and if I can't, then maybe we'll play something else. I don't know. So today, last stream for Nancy Drew in the current book, The Hidden Staircase by Carolyn Keene. We do have these two keywords, mansion and window. And don't forget, we also have the bonus hydration, the bonus aspect of the hydration game, where if both of those words are in the same sentence, we all take a sip of water for every word in the sentence, not just those two words, but every word in that sentence that they're in. So let's get fingers crossed and pray that we haven't got even more. Oh, Goriki's at 90. Wow. Wow, 90 streams consecutively. Excellent. Well done. Well done. I'm just trying to think if there was anything else I was going to tell you about to do with that. Yeah, 90. That's a hang of it. Oh, hi, Coleslaw too. Great to have you here. Before I go further, show and tell, since Coleslaw's here. I have an air purifier that has a fan built in on top, and I'm going to show it to her. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I didn't actually have a chance to look at your posts that you've shared with me just in the last day or two. It's been a little bit hectic. That's one of the things I was going to say is, if you're wondering why in your own brain things just sort of seem a little bit extra, what's going on, have a look and see if anything extra in normal life has been added. Don't assume that the extra that's been added is insignificant. We've had students before. I've done all this before, but it's been a while. And also I had forgotten the adjustment period, not just for them, I expected it for them, but for myself. Because I'm having to be the explainer and the filter for how things run. And once you've got someone who's established in your home and knows how things work, it's golden. Before that, it's like, yeah, make sure you put the lid down on the toilet But why do I have to do that? I never do that. Well, in this house we do. You put the lid down on the toilet as soon as you've finished using it, because when you flush it, you do not need that sprayed everywhere in the room. And then they go, "Ooh, yuck," and then they put the lid down. So there's a lot of things like that where it's training someone up in some new habits that they haven't necessarily used at home. Sometimes their mums have wanted them to use certain habits at home but haven't actually put their foot down hard about it, or they haven't had a reason. And one of the ways that our household works is if we are demanding something was done a certain way, other than just, "This is Jenny, she likes it done like that, do it her way. That's Peter, he wants this done that way, you remember. And Susan, no, don't ever go near her at this time of the day. That's just her rules." And forget about the logic. Other than that, everything else, when there is a particular way we do things, we actually have reasons for. And when you unfold those reasons for a new person in the house and then kind of play act a little the over the top variations on that, the penny drops and they go, "Oh, that makes so much sense." And sometimes you actually find out that they have stuck with that even when they've left and they're living somewhere else. You have a student with her living? Yes, we do. Yes, we do. He's actually attending the school that's nearby, which is wonderful, so I don't have to be a taxi in and out of town. We do have a school bus system, so the kids that go into the town high school catch the bus, but if they're involved with anything outside of school hours, then it's on the host family to have to transport them for that sort of thing if they can't use the commuter bus. My mum never does that, and I still explain and tape signs for her. Some people just never get it. It's actually easier to do it with teenage boys because usually part of them is still young enough for the gross out factor to play a key role. The other thing that we do in my house, because I've always lived in houses where in homes where there's been a bunch of guys involved, in the household. And one of the things I do is if I come into this toilet, this bathroom, not speaking North American now, if I come into this toilet and there's anything on the floor, from you, I will have you in here cleaning it up, pushing the cleaning rag with your nose. And you'll be pushing it with your nose so you can smell why you never leave a mess on the floor. And they don't quite know if I'm joking or if I'm being serious. And usually it just takes one warning after I've given that original explainer. And most people don't realize just how gross it is. Like they have never put their face close enough to smell it. I don't know if I'd actually force them to do it, pushing the cleaning rag with their nose, but they're going to be close enough that they go, "Ooh, yuck, I don't want to have to do that again," so they make sure that it gets where it needs to be. The average of people who are in our house over time have usually had their plumbing for long enough to know how to use it. Yes, I know that some people are still learning, and I am willing to make exceptions for them. But somewhere along the line, you have to learn to aim well, or you sit down. And if you've ever spent a lot of time on a small boat, like a sailing boat that has a toilet on board, and you're out in rough weather, you learn that it's actually easier to sit down, regardless of what plumbing you actually personally have. It makes it a lot easier, a lot less stressful, and also the benefits of it are that you don't have anything to clean up afterwards in terms of spills and stuff. In case it's just her memory, but I taped signs for her in case it's her memory and she doesn't think you need, but she doesn't think you need to. Signs taped to a lot of stuff these days. Oh, yeah, it gets a bit hard when you have to start leaving notes about things. But yeah, use the non-scented on towels, laundry, the hemp for thermostat max, etc. Yeah. Start at younger, much easier. The RV rule is sit please always. Yes, exactly. So I'm going to just go and get this electronic baby from over here, toddler, just to show you how this is where I was going before. Just moving a few things so I can get to it. including plushies. This is my air purifier. Isn't it cute? Isn't it cute? Isn't it such a sweetie? So this is the fan on top, and it parks itself pointing vertically. It is huge. It's much bigger than I thought it was going to be, even though the measurement's there. For Halloween, it's a Dalek. Yeah, absolutely. So it tilts. This is the front facing me. It tilts, but it also rotates. This bit round here rotates, so it oscillates. That's usually got a couple of little lines on it because I don't like it having numbers and being really bright. It's got a filter in the bottom. It's a, I don't know, HEPA something. And the filter itself is actually washable. So yeah, and it is replaceable. I can actually take it out and replace it if I want. It's got a just seeing filter. Hello. So yeah. And normally I wouldn't have got something as big as this, but I was looking at what was available because I was realizing a while back, last winter, I think it was last winter, that I realized that some of my migraines are aggravated by the smoke coming up here because heat rises in the room, in the office space that I'm in, because I could smell the smoke. I don't mind the smell of smoke, but when it's constant, just certain times of the year, in winter when it's cold, if you have the wind from a certain direction, it's really hard not to have the smoke sitting in the room. Down at the main living level, it's not a problem because it rises. But up here, because this is where I spend most of my time, I'm in my office, it's like, and after a while I was finding that I was getting more migraines, and I think it's aggravated by that. And this is an air purifier, and it actually tells me on here, if I have it to tell me on the display here, I don't usually have that, so it's sleeping. It has a couple of marks to show me it's awake, but that's it. But it also shows me on the app on my phone, so I can run it with the touch screen on here if I want to, but because I can be in another part of the house, it's easier if I actually use it with the app on my phone. I can set it to run just fan, I can set it to run just air purifier, or I can set it to run both at the same time, which means that the purified air is being circulated more. So this is the exhaust for the air purifier, and so it's pushing it up, or letting it rise up and then be circulated by the fan. Prefer display off too. Yeah. And the other thing is, if I'm up here at night, that display, even though it's not particularly big or bright, is just too much. But yeah, that top bit is not specifically removable unless I actually didn't want a fan. But when I saw that it could actually be parked, I think this is one of those bits where you can put a drop or two of essential oil in it to fragrance the air. If you have a pet migraineur in your family, don't do that. They don't need extra smells. Some people have problems with lavender, which to me seems strange. It's one of the safest smells I have. I have problems with fake vanilla. So yeah, anything can trigger migraines. Just get this out of the way and then I can carry on. Right, so it's not something I would normally put a lot of money into. We don't have air conditioning in the house. It's New Zealand. Why would we do that? We'll open the doors and windows, or we'll close them and light the fire. Basically, a lot of Kiwis are like that. But Normally that would be about $250, and I got it for about 100. I think it was 250 that it normally is, or just on 200. I know I've seen them over 200, that particular model, but no, it was definitely a deal worth getting at the time. And I can get replacement filters for it. Not in the city to deal with pollution either, which is nice. Absolutely. This particular part of New Zealand is not particularly wide. Didn't realise that particular was such a word for me. So you have the Tasman Sea on one side of New Zealand on the west coast, and you have the Pacific Ocean on the east coast. Tasman Sea is actually part of the Pacific Ocean, but it's a designated part of it. And our weather either comes down from Fiji, Tonga, Samoa, Vanuatu, New Caledonia, thousands and thousands and thousands of miles or square miles or square kilometers of open ocean, and also distance. Or it comes up from Antarctica, which actually is usually more the case. We do get storms that come down from the tropics, but the air we get is pushed past Antarctica. And so you get so much air movement that you don't get a lot of pollution hangs around here. It's like when the rain is falling, if it happens to be a very still day, it's noticeable, the fact that the rain is falling straight down, not going at about, 30 degrees off vertical. Usually the rain is coming down at an angle. That's just what it's like around here. So yeah, I grew up with seeing pictures of people with umbrellas. We have umbrellas, but nobody ever really uses them very much because it's usually too rainy to use them. Anyway, yeah, and we're also not in a low valley because we've got the sea right down the hill from us. And then there's a river on the other side of the hill from us. We're up on the ridge. The house looks mainly one way, so we don't really think so much of the river, but yeah, we're not trapped in a bit of climate that's held by the valleys around you. Also, we don't have a huge landmass in general. New Zealand does not have a great big thumping spread that's going to be holding on to heat and cold and whatever air is being produced and whatever stuff's being thrown into it. So there you go. That's how I got through last winter without getting quite as many. I just still got them, but once I got the air purifier, I did notice I wasn't getting as many because I go, smoke. I think I better put the air purifier on. And yeah, it was making a difference. And I haven't had to clean it or change it yet. It actually does say what the current status is of it, so that's fabulous. Anyway, so how about we go on with the last few chapters of The Hidden Staircase by Carolyn Keene, first published in 1930. And I love the fact that the illustrations in this one are from the first edition, or the first edition, not necessarily the first printing, but they are. So she's wearing a little cloche hat, which I think in the story is the one that they're referring to as a turban. A turban is wrapped. Even if it's actually made as a permanent hat, the texturing of it is it's fabric that's wrapped around. Turbans are still in use today. We used to, in the old days, think that they were a Middle Eastern thing. They're actually very specific to certain cultures. And they're not all. It's not always called the same thing. So the place that the cultural group that we most commonly see wearing a turban these days in New Zealand are people who are Sikhs. S-I-K-H. The men do not cut their hair. And so their beard, even if it doesn't look long, is usually rolled and tucked up in behind, so it looks neat and tidy. And their hair, like Reverend Book in Firefly. Is it Reverend? Whatever he was. Book in Firefly. He had long hair, and he said it was part of his faith, and he had this big cloud of hair, and it really affected River. But normally he had it back. Now, with the Sikh men, they will have their hair contained in the wrapping of the fabric so that it stays clean and it is not being a distraction and a whole lot of other things. And it's very specific to their particular faith when they are practicing it. So, yeah, what we think of as a turban now is not necessarily what they were referring to in fashion, and they were actually used not the way they are worn properly, but there was a fashion style for a while that referred to a turban as a type of hat. Yeah, I had elderly relatives who still had turban-style hats. They were not the sleek cloche type one that you see here. They were not at all appealing. They were old lady hats, put it that way. And they were barely born at that stage, some of them, when they were in the peak of their fashion. Anyway, that'll do. We are going to read this, but I have been enjoying actually seeing the slightly older style illustrations for this. And I'm going to tell that to allow, though I shouldn't have. We are reading chapter 22, The Next Move. The last chapter, Nancy had nearly got discovered in the neighbour's house, Mr. Gombert's house, nearly got discovered, hid in a closet, and then actually found a secret panel with a passage through that went to the house that she's been staying in with the two spinsters. And then as she was going up through the stairs in the back of the house, came to places where there were other passages branching off within the house. I was wondering why she felt that it was okay to get some stuff set up or organised having done this. If the guy regularly comes through, and then my assumption is that he doesn't go right up to the attic part of it for some reason. I don't know. Let's just have a quick look. She's worried about her dad too. We've had hints that he's there in the house next door. Well, we know that he is, but also while she was in the house next door, she heard the occasional sound, which was probably her dad, but she doesn't know yet that he's in it. Until, I'm just going to read the last 3 paragraphs, which are fairly short from the end of the previous chapter. Until Nathan Gombert was brought to justice, her work was not accomplished. It would not be easy to capture him, she knew, for the miser was a desperate man when crossed. If only her father were at home to give her advice. What can have become of him? She fretted as she tossed restlessly in bed. I'm so worried. If I don't hear from him tomorrow, I must report him missing to the police. Not until it was nearly dawn did she fall into a troubled sleep. There you go. Because she'd snuck out at night anyway, so it was quite late by the time she got home. Chapter 22, which is where we're starting now. The next move. When Nancy Drew opened her eyes the following morning, the sun was streaming in at her bedroom window. A quick glance at the clock on her dresser disclosed that it was 15 minutes past 9. Horrors! She cried, springing from the bed. Why didn't Floretta or Rosemary awaken me? She was provoked with herself that she had overslept on a morning when she had so much to do. She was annoyed. She was irritated. Hi, Sue, great to have you here. Hops and waves. Hi, 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 hi. Yes, hi, great to have you here. You just missed the little talk about my air purifier, but that's all right. You didn't miss much. Except that it's big. I've seen ones advertised that are about this big for more than what this one cost. Anyway, and I did check. Yes, you can still get the filters for it. She was provoked with herself that she had overslept on a morning. What would you have said? She was provoked with herself that she had overslept. What phrasing would you have used instead? Keeping it Nana friendly though. I would have probably said annoyed, provoked. Not quite sure why they're going with that one. It's just distracting me too much, obviously. She had overslept on a morning when she had so much to do. Although she had gone through a trying ordeal the night before, she was none the worse for the experience and arose feeling refreshed and eager for what the day might bring forth. So obviously she needed that extra sleep. Hastily dressing, perturbed. Yeah, that's another good one. Provoked seems a little bit... I think modern usage of the word provoked implies two people, one provoking another, whereas perturbed is the current state. I am feeling this way. I'm annoyed, I'm perturbed, irritated, all those sort of things, whereas provoked seems a lot more antagonistic. It's weird. Sorry. I sometimes wonder if they, with these books, that if they were given a word list of things to actually include somehow in the story, supposedly as naturally as possible, so that whoever was reading it, remember they are preteens and early teens, would actually go, oh, that's a big word. I wonder what that means, and check it out in the dictionary or ask somebody, and then actually try and see how clever they can be with using it, just to sort of like, from the publisher's end, improve things. You know, these are educational books, and from the kids' end, it's like, oh, I've got a big word. Can you spell caterpillar, sort of thing. So Shu has affirmed Goriki, saying that Goriki is a shining box of chocolates. Nyaha! Bites. You finally got him. You finally got him. Goriki has affirmed Shu, saying that she is a wondrous ray of light. Darn. Not quite as tangible. But nice after cold grey weather. Yes, lovely. So she had a really good night's sleep. She awoke feeling refreshed. Perturbed indeed. Catch me if you can. Hastily dressed, she arose feeling refreshed and eager for what the day might bring forth. Hastily dressing, she hurried downstairs to find that breakfast was waiting. You have no idea how sorry I am, she apologized contritely. You shouldn't have waited for me. It doesn't matter in the least, Rosemary told her quietly as the three sat down to the breakfast table. This may be the last breakfast we'll ever eat here. Why, what do you mean? Nancy glanced up quickly and noticed the sad expression on the faces of the Turnbull sisters. Nathan Gombert was here this morning, Rosemary explained. Nancy's spoon clattered from her hand. He was here this morning? She asked in astonishment. Yes, he came to repeat the offer he made us some time ago for the house. That wasn't an offer, that was a steal. But in the light of what has happened here, we can't expect to get much for the house. At this day and age, you'd get more for it. You didn't sell? Nancy questioned anxiously. We have made up our minds to give up the house. Yes, we accepted his offer and told him that if he came back this afternoon, we could sign the papers. Then you haven't signed anything yet? Not yet, Rosemary responded listlessly. Oh, I'm so glad, Nancy cried impulsively. If you had, it would have spoiled everything. There's no need for you ever to leave your home, she added impressively. You see, I've solved the mystery at last. You've solved the mystery? Floretta demanded eagerly. You know what became of our silver urn? Oh, it's too good to be true. I can't lay hands on your urn this minute, Nancy told her, but I think I can get it within 24 hours. Don't keep us in suspense, Rosemary begged. Tell us everything. Is there really a ghost in our house? Nancy laughed. Nathan Gombert is the ghost, just as I suspected. Are you certain? Rosemary asked a trifle doubtfully. He has been our neighbour for years and he offered to buy our house. That's why he's been trying to frighten you. Because he wanted to force you to sell this place. I always thought Nathan was mean, but I had no idea he would do a thing like that, Floretta said. Have you really the proof that he is the guilty party? Unless you have, we wouldn't dare accuse him. I'll show you my proof, Nancy declared. Come with me, and I think you'll be convinced. Hurrying to the kitchen, she secured a supply of candles, then led the way to the attic. Wonderingly, Rosemary and Floretta followed. Nancy flung open the door and permitted the Turnbull sisters to enter first. I have discovered a hidden stairway, she informed them, as she flashed her candle in the direction of the old highboy. Rosemary and Floretta took one look and gasped in astonishment. The secret stairway was plainly revealed, for the trapdoor was open just as Nancy had left it the night before, which is the bit that I had thought, oh, I don't know if that was a good idea, because you're tipping your hand. Whoever dreamed of a hidden staircase in our house? Floretta demanded in excitement. Well, it's an old house. It's what people expect these days. There were rumours to that effect, Rosemary admitted, but I never believed them. Just think how many times we've been in this attic and never discovered the trapdoor. It was very cleverly hidden, Nancy told them. I searched and couldn't find it myself from the outside. Where does the stairway lead? Floretta asked, peering into the dark recess. It leads to a tunnel which connects the mansion with Nathan Gombert's house. And we're going to all have our first drink of water for our hydration game for the word mansion. Oh, yeah, and I did top them up. They're all topped up. Just trying to see. I think this was the one that had gone down the most. Yes, because on the first it went down to here, and then last time it went down to there, which was the 8th. I want to see that you all had your drink of water. And he's been entering our house nightly by means of the staircase? Floretta questioned. I'm convinced of it. Not necessarily this particular part of the staircase. I think he's been going to other parts of the house. He may not have come further up to the attic. Maybe he did, I don't know. But yeah, it was a bit of a risk leaving it open like that. But how did you ever make the discovery? Rosemary broke in admiringly. Nancy then told the details of her harrowing. Are they doing this in front of the open trap door so that if he's in the tunnel he can hear? Nancy, you're earning the brick wall. Nancy's meant to be cleverer than that. Nancy then told the details of her harrowing experience in the Gombert residence. She ended by showing them the bump on her head, which had been caused by falling down the stone steps. You might have been killed, Floretta shuddered. And imagine going through that passage all alone in the dead of night. It must have been terrible. I never could have done it. I'll admit I didn't enjoy the experience, Nancy replied, but it was the only way to solve the mystery. Excuse me. Burping. Rosemary, who'd been studying the entrance to the staircase meditatively, now turned to Nancy with a puzzled frown. There's one thing that isn't clear to me. I don't see how Nathan took our silver urn from the library and managed to escape without being caught. In order to reach this staircase, it would be necessary for him to pass our bedrooms. Surely we would have heard him. That puzzles me too, Nancy admitted. So she's forgotten about the branches? Nancy admitted. But I have a theory which I intend to investigate this morning. I believe there must be another opening to this staircase on the floor below. We were told there were at least 2 other, because it was multiple, it was plural. Other passages coming off the side of the one that she was going through once it got to the house. I believe there must be another opening to this staircase on the floor below. Perhaps there's one in every room, Floretta speculated. Wouldn't surprise me to find one on every floor, Nancy stated. Fluff. But we searched thoroughly. Yeah, got it. But we searched thoroughly, Rosemary protested. We went over every inch of the walls. That's true, but I believe it will be easier to find the openings from the inside. I intend to enter the staircase again and try to find them. Last night I remember that several flights of stairs branched off from one landing. Yay, finally. I want to find out where they lead. Do you want to go with me? Certainly, replied Rosemary promptly. I have a great curiosity to see what the stairway is like. It's so old we must be careful not to fall. Nancy warned her. One of the steps has rotted away entirely. As she spoke, she stepped through the opening into the passageway. Rosemary boldly followed, but Floretta hesitated uncertainly. What if the trapdoor should fall shut? She questioned anxiously. I'm sure it won't, Nancy reassured her, but even if it does, I can open it again. See, here is the hidden spring. She held her candle so the beam illuminated the metal ring which controlled the door. Still, Floretta hesitated. Do hurry, Rosemary commanded impatiently. There's no danger. Floretta folded her skirts tightly about her to prevent them from brushing against the dusty walls, then timidly descended the first step. I don't like it, she choked. The dust is terrific and the cobwebs. Ugh! Nevertheless, she did not turn back. It's probably the first bit of, I was going to say clean excitement, not clean, positive excitement that they've had for a while. Maybe they won't seem so old after this. Cautiously, Nancy Drew led the way down the wooden stairs, taking care to avoid the broken step. At the obviously they've lit the candles. We didn't have that. We were told about taking them, but not about lighting them. At the landing, she selected one of the passages which led in another direction and descended the stairs until she came to another landing. As she flashed her light about, her keen eyes caught the gleam of a metal ring. She seized upon it eagerly. This must open a panel, she cried in excitement. As she pulled upon the ring, the wall fell away, and to her amazement she stepped into a closet which was filled with garments. Where are we? She demanded. Why, we must be in my room, Floretta gasped. Now I understand what became of my silk dresses and the diamond pin. It's clear that Nathan must have entered the room by means of the secret panel in the closet, Rosemary observed. But how did the canaries get in? Floretta demanded. They might have flown through the passage and entered the room when the panel was open, Nancy suggested. That's very likely, Rosemary agreed. It's no wonder we thought the walls had ears. It's my opinion that Nathan has been hiding in the staircase listening to everything we say. It frightens me to think of it. Now, why would he not be elsewhere in this passage system? Why are we not concerned about this possibility at all? I feel confident it was Nathan Gombert who sent me the threatening letter advising me not to come to this house, Nancy declared. Can you remember whether or not you read my letter aloud after it arrived? Yes, we did, Floretta responded quickly. And we were in this very bedroom too. Nathan must have been listening and heard every word. It's clear enough now, Rosemary said caustically. That man thought he could frighten us from our home. To think we nearly sold the mansion to him. Mansion. There we go, folks. Shall we investigate the other passages? Nancy questioned. Our time is getting short and I'm eager to find out where they lead. By all means, Rosemary agreed. Come on. Sorry, I've got a cat looking at the pile of stuff I moved. Blankets and things. Just climb over, Theo. You don't need to worry about going through. Yeah, come on. Here you go. Hey, you can get through there. Come on. Hello. It's being funny. Our time is getting short and I'm eager to find out where they lead. By all means, Rosemary agreed, without taking time to close the panel after them. That's going to indicate that they've been there. The three descended the hidden stairway to the landing below and there selected another flight of wooden stairs. I thought they went down to this one. Hello, beautiful. Are you going to come up and say hello to everybody? Are you? Yeah, come on, turn around, so I can get you up. You say hello. Look, you say hello to everybody. It's beautiful purring. Ooh, and me burping. Yeah, good. There they are. They're in there. They're in that camera up there. That's where the people are. Yeah. You want to hop on your chair? There you go. I don't have a camera for you. I suppose I could hook it up. Here's the camera. Let's see if I can hook it up and balance it in the right place so people can see you on your chair, because you haven't been on your chair for ages. Usually gets jammed into the corner of a desk tidy and then taped in place so it doesn't wiggle around too much. Hello. Let's see if I can get that to show up. Just a moment. Close that version and open up again. It's recognizing the right camera now. And we shall see if see if I can get it to go. I'm not sure that that was the right one. Meant to give the camera. Why did it not show the camera? Nope, did not. Studio mode. I've probably got it behind something else. Deactivate. Activate. That should have done it. Deactivate. Activate. Nope. Try it again. See if my computer's going to tell me that yes, it's got this plugged in now. Because sometimes it doesn't. If it doesn't tell me that a new thing is, that the device has been plugged in. Yes, there it is. Deactivate. Activate. Still not. That's strange. Okay, sorry folks, you can't see the cat. I tried. I don't know why it's not going. It's meant to. No idea. No idea whatsoever. Right, we're going to carry on with reading. Where do we get to? I know somebody wants treats, but he's not desperate for them because I've run out. So, just whenever. Right. I said that already. Without taking time to close the panel after them, the three descended the hidden stairway to the landing below and there selected another flight of wooden stairs. "We must be going down to the first floor. We must be going down to the first floor now," Floretta observed as they cautiously descended. By the way, I haven't run a tips video. We shall do that after the ad break, which is coming up in a while. "Watch out for the step," Nancy said, who was ahead, calling out in warning. "There's another broken one just ahead." The three avoided the hole in the flooring and continued down the staircase. At last Nancy came to the end of the passage, but to her surprise could find no hidden panel. In vain she flashed her candle about over the walls, and Floretta and Rosemary aided in the search. "That's funny," Nancy murmured in perplexity. "I'm sure there must be an opening here somewhere." She glanced anxiously at her candle. It would not last many more minutes, and unless she wished to be plunged into darkness, she must return to the kitchen for another supply. Floretta and Rosemary had used the last of their stock. The passage at this particular place was very narrow and so low that a person could not stand upright without striking the top wall. The top wall. The ceiling? Tiring of the stooped position which she had been forced to endure for several minutes, Nancy straightened. Her head struck the top of the passageway. "Ouch!" she exclaimed. To her astonishment, she heard a strange clicking noise. "I believe I've discovered the panel," she cried eagerly. While Rosemary held the candle, she examined the ceiling overhead and pushed upon it with all her strength. To her surprise, the wall gave way easily and lifted up. "Wall! When it's over you, it's not called a wall." "Not usually, when it's..." Nancy pushed the obstruction out of the way and thrust her head and shoulders through the opening. Curiously, she gazed about. She had come up through the sofa seat in the library. The built-in sofas. There's at least 2 in the house. "My word!" she exclaimed. "No wonder I never found the secret panel in this room. Who would have thought of looking in the sofa?" She pulled herself up through the opening and then assisted Floretta and Rosemary, who were less athletic. Now, that she was bending down, but she stood up, so it was only bending down a little bit, and it was by standing up she banged her head. So that means she's actually helping pull them up quite a way. "Mercy, what next?" Floretta gasped as she sank down into a chair and tried to regain her breath. "Imagine living in this house all these years and never discovering anything wrong with that sofa," Rosemary commented. "I see everything now," Nancy said slowly. "That broken step just before we came to the opening, Nathan must have fallen and cried out in alarm. And I feel certain there must be another opening in the sofa in the drawing room. I'm going to find out." Darting into the next room, she jerked the cushions from the sofa and lifted the baseboards. As she had suspected, there was an opening similar to the one in the library, which was just large enough for a person to squeeze through. Pity sofa isn't a word, yes. Unfortunately, it's only in these last couple of chapters that they seriously use it, though. That's how Nathan stole the silver urn," Floretta observed. "He came up through the sofa seat in the library." "How stupid of me not to think of looking there before," Nancy said. "Stupid? I think you've done extremely clever detective work as it is. Why, we've lived here for years and never dreamed of a hidden staircase. How shall we ever repay you for all you've done?" "Oh, let's not think about that now," Nancy said hastily, glancing at her watch. "There's so much yet to be done. We must bring Nathan Gombert to justice if we can." Subtitles: sofa equals surface. Typical. "I agree with you there," Floretta cried feelingly. "Go and call the police. We want him locked up." Nancy started toward the door. If he has an inkling of what we've discovered, he'll try to escape. And she threw back over her shoulder. She hurried to the garage at the rear of the house and quickly backed her roadster out upon the drive. Rosemary and Floretta, not to be left behind, crowded in beside her. Do you think the police will be able to capture him?" Floretta asked tremulously. I'll never feel safe again until I know he's behind prison bars. I'm afraid we shouldn't have taken the time we did to investigate those passages, Nancy returned quietly, but I wanted to be absolutely certain that Nathan Gombert was guilty before I turned him over to the authorities. It's still actually circumstantial evidence. There's not actual evidence that is tangible that can be used to prosecute so far, until they find her dad locked in a room in Nathan's house. With that, she shifted gears and the car roared down the Cliffwood Road to disappear in a cloud of dust. Kaboom, gone. Not quite. Oh, we're still in an ad. The next chapter is chapter 23, Notifying the Police. But now that you're back, I am going to run a tips video because I forgot to before. Who have we got today?
Hello, and welcome to the stream. I'm Jev. Now, let's talk about our 6 things to enjoy the stream. Number 1, get your drink. It can be water, whatever you like, but, take care of yourself and hydrate. Number 2, when I hydrate, you should as well. Did you hydrate just now? Number 2, get snacks or maybe a whole meal. It depends on your time of day and your own habits. Again, take care of yourself. Be hydrated and eat what you need to eat. Number 4, get comfy, whether it's cooler or warmer, just something to cuddle perhaps. But be comfortable. That's also important. It's good physically and mentally. Number 5, have something to write with and write on. It can be paper, it can be anything you like. Memo, post-it notes, whatever you like. This advert not associated with post-it notes in any way, shape, or form. Disclaimer. Now, sit back, listen, and enjoy. Feel free to engage in chat. Do the puzzle over here or, down there somewhere. Play Jev Bingo. I do silly things like, I do silly things. Or you can spend pages and make me wear silly things like funny ears, like this one. Have a good stream.
It's the hair, isn't it? It looks just like me. Right, here we go. The cat came back and he's sitting on the floor behind my chair, eating the crumbs from the treats, which is all I had left. Yes, that's all. I'm sorry. That's all there was. I really want to have it so that I've got a little extension on the side of my seat so he can sit there and I can just pat him when I feel like it. That would be lovely, wouldn't it? Yes, yes it would. So he's going to lie down next to my chair instead. He often quite likes it if I'm reading, just to sit nearby. I think it's just, I don't know, hearing the same droning voice going on and on. Yes. We'll carry on. Chapter 23, Notifying the Police. Oh, if only we had installed a telephone at the mansion, Rosemary fretted as Nancy Drew's roadster sped along over the smooth road towards Cliffwood. Isn't there any house along the road where we can stop to call the police? Nancy questioned. It would save us considerable time. Rosemary shook her head. There aren't any houses until we get almost into Cliffwood. Then we may as well drive straight to the sheriff's office, Nancy decided. What is the difference between sheriff and police? Because they're talking about the police, but now she's talking about going to the sheriff's office. I thought the sheriff was in the Wild West. I don't understand. We don't have them in New Zealand, okay? Somebody please explain. In Pooh Bear language that Pooh Bear would understand, not complicated. We may as well drive straight to the sheriff's office, Nancy decided. It's only a short distance anyway, after saying it's such a long way to go and it's going to take us so long. After a few minutes' delay ought not to make such a big difference. But it may, Floretta declared uneasily. I believe Nathan is beginning to be suspicious. Otherwise he wouldn't have come to us this morning with the offer to buy the house. Nancy did not respond, but concentrated her attention upon the road before her. In exactly 12 minutes flat, she brought the automobile to a quivering halt in front of the sheriff's office. Switching off the engine, she sprang from the car and, with the Turnbull sisters close behind her, ran into the building. The sheriff, the picture of repose, with his feet comfortably placed on the top of a roll-top desk. That sounds uncomfortable. I think they mean his feet placed on the desk edge, not on the top of the roll top, because that's a long way up. He's going to be lying down in his chair to get his feet up that far. Because the top of a roll top is a good 450, 500 mils, a half a yard, a foot and a half above the desktop. Yes. Was the sheriff, the picture of repose with his feet comfortably placed on the top of a roll-top desk, was laughing and talking with several men who were seated about the room. As Nancy Drew and the two women came in, he swung his feet to the floor and eyed them with respectful attention. "Anything I can do for you?" he inquired. Without mincing words, Nancy quickly told of the strange things that had happened at the Turnbull house and of the discoveries she had made. At various points, Rosemary and Floretta corroborated her story. "I want you to arrest Nathan Gombert," Nancy ended. "He's the guilty man." The sheriff scratched his head in perplexity. "Well, I don't know what to say. Nathan Gombert's no friend of mine, and folks say he's a little queer, but I never heard of his doing any harm." "There's always a first time," Rosemary snapped. "He's just a clever crook, that's all," Nancy declared impatiently. "Don't you believe our story? We can show you the staircase." "Yes, I believe your story all right," the sheriff said hastily, "but I dasn't proceed without evidence. You can't arrest a man unless you've some proof he's guilty." "Told you." "What more proof do you want?" Rosemary imposed tartly. "Well, if you found the silver urn in his house or something like that, which means it would be tainted evidence because you're not meant to go into someone else's property." "If my father were here, he'd convince you all right," Nancy said with rising temper. "Your father?" "Yes, Carson Drew." "You don't mean Carson Drew, the lawyer from River Heights? You're his daughter?" "I am." "Well, that's different. Why didn't you say so at first?" Good bit of name-dropping, hey? "What has that to do with the case?" "Well, I reckon a daughter of Carson Drew knows what she's about. If you say Nathan Gombert's a crook, I'll take your word for it." "It's not what you know, it's who you know, then." "Well, it seems to me you've taken plenty of time to make up your mind," Nancy said sarcastically. The sheriff, thus goaded into action, turned to the other men in the room. His indolent manner fell from him. "Come on, boys," he shouted. Turning to Nancy, he ordered, "You lead the way and we'll follow." Nancy nodded and, with Floretta and Rosemary, hurried outside to the waiting roadster. "I never could stand that sheriff," Rosemary commented. "You can see now why we didn't like to put the matter in his hands before. He would have made a mess of it." "I can see all right," Nancy admitted dryly. She sprang into the car and the Turnbull sisters climbed in beside her. She started the motor and waited impatiently for the sheriff and his deputies. The moment the police car was ready to leave, she shifted gears and was off. As the two cars raced down the side streets of Cliffwood, many passers-by turned to stare curiously after them. Nancy did not notice, for she was intent only upon one thing, and that was to reach the old stone house before Nathan Gombert had an opportunity to escape or to hide the booty he had stolen from the Turnbull mansion. They're going to have to surround his house and the two old ladies' house. And we don't know if those tunnels go further to an ice house out in the woods behind or something like that, an escape route. The sheriff may be stupid enough to refuse to arrest him unless he finds evidence on the place, she thought in disgust. "Well, usually that's kind of how it goes, actually. There's got to be a little bit more than just an allegation made. She drove swiftly and soon came within sight of the gloomy old stone house owned by the miser. Believing it would be wisest to approach cautiously and not give an alarm, she slowed down. To her chagrin, the police car raced ahead and roared down the driveway. It came to a sudden halt in front of the house. The sheriff sprang from the automobile and turned to his men. "Surround the house," he ordered crisply. "We won't take any chance on letting that old boy get away." "Oh, why does that sheriff have to be so dramatic?" Nancy murmured in alarm. "After all this noise, it will be a wonder if Nathan Gombert doesn't slip through the secret tunnel and escape. That will ruin everything." "Well, obviously that's what he's going to do." Impatiently, she opened the door of the roadster and started to get out, but Floretta held her back. "Don't go," she begged. "There may be shooting." Nancy permitted herself to be pulled back into the safety of the automobile. They should be going to the lady's house to stop him as he comes running out the door from their house. From there, the three watched the sheriff with misgiving. They saw him walk up to the back door and knock. There was no response. He knocked again. He tried the door, but it was locked. Then he peeped in at the kitchen window. "No one at home," he muttered in disgust, turning away. Nancy could stand it no longer. Springing from the roadster, she ran toward the sheriff. "You can't expect Nathan Gombert to welcome you with open arms after all the noise you made coming up the drive," she cried. "He'd be more apt to welcome you with buckshot. He's probably watching now from an upstairs window. We'll all make good targets." The sheriff glanced anxiously upwards and stepped closer to the house. "It's pretty serious business to go breaking into a man's house," he said, somewhat crestfallen, "unless you're mighty sure you've got the right man." "Nathan Gombert is the right man." "Well, maybe he is. I don't know." The sheriff's old doubts were returning to assail him anew. "I suppose I could ram the door, but I don't like to do it." "I'll assume the responsibility," Nancy said shortly. "All right, we'll do it." "There's an easier way." "How do you mean?" "Climb through the cellar window and get in that way. There's a stairway from the cellar leading to the kitchen." "That's an idea." The sheriff motioned to his deputies and Nancy led the way to the cellar window. One by one the men crawled in. Nancy hesitated an instant, then she followed. Silently she indicated the stairs leading to the kitchen. The sheriff and his deputies crept quietly up to the landing, and there they paused and listened. The house was as silent as a tomb. Then, unmistakably, there was a slight shuffling sound which seemed to come from the kitchen. The sheriff turned to a deputy near him and whispered into his ear. "Did you hear that?" "Yes, Chief," the deputy whispered in reply. "There's someone hiding in the kitchen." "Get set, boys. We'll see who it is." The sheriff placed his hand on the doorknob and gave it a quick turn. The latch clicked. As the sheriff thrust open the door, he started back involuntarily, for he stood looking straight into the muzzle of a sawed-off shotgun held in the hands of Gombert's servant. Chapter 24. Nancy leads the way. The old woman advanced threateningly, her face convulsed with rage. "You get, white man," she ordered, "or I'll fill you full of lead." Somewhat sheepishly, the sheriff retreated. He dare not reach for his own revolver, which hung in its holster, lest the woman carry out her threat. As he backed away, the negress slammed the door and locked it. "I reckon we'll have to take the place by storm," the sheriff muttered to his companions. "She's locked the door. We'll have to ram it." Excuse me. "And while we're doing it, she'll pepper us with shot," one of the deputies observed. "I reckon you're right at that," the sheriff said slowly. "I guess we'd better fire a volley through the door." "We haven't any call to kill the woman," the deputy argued, "and a stray shot might hit her. We don't want to do that." "That's so. Anyone have any idea how we can get into the house?" "I have," said Nancy quickly. "I know of a secret passage which leads from the Turnbull mansion to an upstairs room of this house. Give me 2 men and the rest stay here to keep watch. We'll go into the house through the passage and take her by surprise. I do hope she's speaking quietly." "That's an idea," the sheriff muttered. "I'll go with you myself." He indicated one of the deputies. "You come along too. The rest of you boys stay here. I do hope they've got fresh batteries in their torches, and that they've brought their torches." And make a little racket every so often to hold the attention of the old woman, Nancy suggested. When we get into the kitchen, I'll blow my police whistle, the sheriff added. When you hear it, rush up from below. The sheriff and the deputy assigned to the venture followed Nancy Drew from the cellar. They crept past the kitchen window and hurried toward the police car. There was no time for Nancy to stop to explain matters to Rosemary and Floretta. They sat huddled in the roadster where she'd left them a few minutes before. They'll be safe enough so long as they stay in the car, the sheriff said, as the three ran across the courtyard and sprang into the police car. That woman isn't likely to make trouble unless she's bothered. The sheriff took the wheel. Drive to the Turnbull mansion, Nancy directed. The police car sped rapidly down the road and up another, and came to an abrupt halt in front of the mansion. Give me 2 men, Nancy Drew. Yes. The police car sped rapidly down the road and up another and came to an abrupt halt in front of the mansion. Nancy tried the front door. To her relief, she found it unlocked. In their haste to reach the sheriff's office, the Turnbull sisters had neglected to fasten the doors and windows. Nancy opened the door and led the way to the library. Quickly lifting the cover of the sofa, she disclosed the hidden opening. Deftly, she lowered herself into it. The sheriff and deputy stared after her in astonishment. "Well, what do you know about that?" the sheriff exclaimed. "We're going through a secret passage," Nancy exclaimed hastily. "Hurry," she called impatiently. "There's no time to lose." I'm thinking, what happens if one of them gets stuck trying to get through, because it's meant to be quite small, remember? Hesitating only a moment longer, the sheriff and the deputy likewise lowered themselves through the opening into the hidden staircase. "You know where you're going?" the sheriff questioned doubtfully. "Yes," Nancy returned. "Watch these stairs or you may take a tumble." As her eyes became more accustomed to the darkness, she moved rapidly down the staircase, warning the two behind her of treacherous steps. They came down a staircase to get to this level, so why is she going down a staircase again? The only time they've talked of going up a staircase was to go up to the attic when she discovered the route. Up and down, they do not have them set in the head. Yeah, apparently. Warning the two behind her of treacherous steps. At last she reached the lower level and paused before what appeared to be a solid wall. "Now what?" the sheriff demanded. "Author didn't make any gaming maps." "Yeah," the sheriff demanded. Nancy did not respond, but ran her hand over the wall in search of the tiny knob which opened the panel. She found it, and as she pushed firmly upon it, a portion of the wall swung back. "Come on," she urged, stepping through the opening. So this is going from the house tunnels into the connecting tunnel, I think. Mama gets what Mama wants, yeah. Says Shoo to Goody about, "Give me 2 men," says Nancy Drew. Come on, she urged, stepping through the opening. Now, there's no talk whatsoever about any of them having torches now. They're doing this in the dark. The sheriff and the deputy followed. They turned and looked back uneasily as the panel grated shut behind them. "What if we're locked in here?" the sheriff questioned. "We shan't be," Nancy told him quietly. "I know the secret." The three rapidly descended the flight of stone steps. "We're going to come out in China any minute," and entered the tunnel which led directly to the bird room of Nathan Gombert's house. This one is upstairs.
As someone who identifies as a dwarf, you're miles away.
I know. We haven't gone through the nether yet. Reaching
You're more likely to encounter a Balrog first.
Yeah, more likely to encounter a Balrog first, yeah. Reaching the stone steps at the end of the passage, she paused only long enough to warn the two officers that they were now within the house and must remain silent. Quickly ascending the stone steps, she groped about the walls, searching for the hidden spring which would open the panel. "Look for a brass ring or a tiny knob," she directed the two men. "We don't have candles, we don't have torches, but we're going to know it's the right one because it's brass." How? Even as she whispered the instruction, her hand struck a solid object on the wall. Eagerly she felt of it and discovered it was a small metal ring. They blindfolded themselves too. It kind of feels like that, doesn't it?
Well, if it's a brass knob, it'll be more thermally conductive and therefore feel colder than if it's a wooden knob.
Yeah, but it might be an iron knob and it might be a copper knob.
Yeah, I know, but here's hoping.
Even as she whispered the instructions, her hand struck a solid object on the wall. Eagerly she felt of it and discovered it was a small metal ring. I found it, she whispered in delight. She gave the ring a hard pull, and to the amazement of the sheriff and his deputy, the secret panel opened. Nancy stepped, which, the way it opened when she first discovered it being on the other side. Oh God, a grenade ring! No, says Coleslaw.
And here I was going to say, solution, identify what sort of metal it is by licking it.
Yes, I was wondering that too. PJ reckons you'd have to lick it to find out what sort it is, what sort of metal it is. When she first discovered this passage, the wall fell away from her and she fell down the steps. The way it described it, my brain drew a picture of the panel falling downwards and forming a ramp, so she slid down the steps.
I thought that was the bit just behind the wardrobe.
Yeah, that's where we're coming out to now.
Oh, right.
In the dark, never pull a ring. It could be a grenade pin. Good point. I like that. The author at some point during writing suffered 2 concussions. Yes, throwing themselves down the stairs to see what sort of bump they'd get on the head. And it definitely shows in the writing. Oh my goodness. She gave the ring just to keep the story connected, she gave the ring a hard pull, and to the amazement of the sheriff and his deputy, the room went kaboom, kaboom. No, it didn't. The secret panel opened. Nancy stepped out into the light and motioned for the 2 men to follow. She now stood in the closet of the bird room. Cautiously opening the closet door, she peered out. She didn't try listening first. And is the parrot still covered, or is he going to give the game away? The coast is clear, she informed her companions quietly. Follow me. Softly, she tiptoed across the room and tried the door leading into the corridor. It was unlocked. Treading quiet... No mention of the parrot which nearly got her found, which is how she found the passage. And the parrot is meant to be right near where that closet is. Oh my goodness. Treading quietly down the hall, she led the way to the stairs. They paid them off at this point. How many authors have we gone through on this story too? And they just pick up with the bit that they feel like doing and do it the way they want to instead of continuing the story. Reaching the lower floor, she led the way to the stairs. That's right, it's the servant's stair which goes down to the kitchen. Reaching the lower floor, Nancy Drew and the officers crept toward the kitchen where the belligerent old servant had taken up her post. The sheriff listened for a moment at the inner door of the kitchen and peered through the keyhole. The old woman had not relinquished the gun, but stood before the basement door making vehement threats. "I'm waiting for you," she muttered. "You just make one pass through that door and I'm gonna lose control of my trigger finger. I'll fill you so full of buckshot that you look like a sieve, and I don't mean possibly." Satisfied that the old woman was occupied at the basement door, the sheriff quickly stepped into the room and covered her with his pistol. "Just pat you down with my pistol. There, I've covered you now." It's a weird phrase. I've always wondered about that one. It's been strange all my life. "You're under arrest," he said sharply.
Hang on. Sorry. Eccles, swallow this bullet and keep this, whoever it was, covered. Okay, I'll get a blanket.
Yeah, get a blanket to cover them. That's a quote from The Goon Show, by the way. No, this is PJ. He's quoting from The Goon Show.
And,
Juice is high.
the swallowing the bullet bit is Goon Show logic.
Yes, because Eccles then becomes the gun.
Yeah.
And Coleslaw says hi as well. I hope nobody came here expecting a serious book read.
Yung tonga lipo needle naddle noon, you got to go, ow.
You got to go
Ow.
It's Eccles. That
No,
last
that's
character.
Moriarty.
Sorry, it is Moriarty, you're right. Somebody else says something similar. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Let's carry on with this story, not that one.
Whoa! That's Eccles.
Yes, it is.
Sorry if that was clipping.
It shouldn't have done. I've got a filter on my mic. It should have hit the limit and not gone any further.
There's an adorable cat over here.
And my camera's not working.
So you'll just have to imagine an adorable cat.
Yes.
Have a good stream, everyone.
Thanks. See ya.
Had something to eat
Yes, I can tell.
and coffee.
He's had food and coffee. Hence the bounciness.
No, that was not. I've had something to coffee. That was. I've had something.
I know,
to eat
I know, I
and
know, I
I've
know.
had coffee. I just thought I'd specify because Brain is doing the logic.
Yeah. Hi, Raiders. Great to have you here. Our thriving Russian crowd have arrived. Thank you. It's lovely to see you. We are nearly at the end of Nancy Drew and the Hidden Staircase. And I was just saying before you arrived, I hope nobody comes here expecting serious reads, because it is just absolute madness here. There's reactions to everything in the story, and then on top of that we get extra things like PJ coming in and quoting bits from the Goon Show and all that sort of stuff. Silly days of fun. Yeah, they are. So welcome everybody. I hope you've been having lots of fun. Thank you for being here. Let's carry on with this. We are, hang on, just trying to think. I think we're about halfway through today's read for the end of the book. Sounds like we arrived at a particularly good time then. Yes, they've discovered the secret passages. Nancy started to discover those last time. And then she's now taken the two old ladies into the passages with her, the ones in their own house. And then they've rushed off to the police because the old ladies don't have a telephone, and nor do any of the neighbours. Rushed off to the police in town to persuade them to come out and arrest the neighbour, Nathan Gombert, because there's a passage that runs between the two houses. And the sheriff was like, yeah, I'll arrest him since you're Carson Drew's daughter, but I wasn't going to otherwise. And then the police tumble in through the cellar door into the house next door because no one was answering the door and the door was locked. Real Keystone Cops. And we're going to go out through the cellar into the kitchen, and the servant is standing there with a shotgun about to blast them all, and then they slam the door and she locks it, and that sort of stuff. Anyway, so they go out, they go back to the other house, they go through the passage, and then they go upstairs. Some of them do, the sheriff and his assistant and Nancy. And they go up to the top of the house, another part of the house, to the secret passages, and then down through the inside servant stairs, not the secret ones, into the kitchen, and we're just at the point of arresting the servant. We still don't know where Nathan Gombert is. He's probably over in their house, in the lady's house, having gone through the passage before them. Clue, the movie had more consistency. Yeah, and that's all this running around stuff too. Absolutely hilarious. Although this ending is starting, when I'm describing it like this, is actually starting to sound a little bit like the summary at the end of Clue. So let's carry on. Oh my goodness. That last comment there, you too can wear your very own loadable shirt for those days when it needs to be said. That link there, jev.nz, don't forget it's 3 V's, otherwise you won't find it. I was going to wear that today. So if you want to see the t-shirt, one of the versions of the t-shirt, you'll have to come along next time. Otherwise, you can order your own. That's cool. And yeah, there's a link there of the clip, which is where the whole concept came from on my channel. So if you're happy to wear something that says, it's a loadable shirt, think about the phrase. But also watch the clip, because you'll find out where it comes from completely. And PJ says I should rewatch Clue again at some point. Needs some ridiculousness. Absolutely. I remember hearing about it when it first came out, and hearing that if you went on a plane trip out of New Zealand anywhere and came back again, the likelihood was that you would get 2 different endings to the movie, because there were several different endings that were filmed. Anyway, I am going to carry on with reading this. Sorry about the ad break, but some of you will still be able to hear it anyway. "You're under arrest," he said sharply. The woman turned suddenly and gazed into the muzzle of the sheriff's gun. She hesitated an instant, as if debating whether it would be wise to attempt resistance, then threw up her hands in surrender. The shotgun clattered to the floor. Nancy Drew, who by this time had rushed into the room, ran to the basement door and unlocked it. As the sheriff gave one short blast on his police whistle, the deputies had been left stationed below burst into the kitchen. One of them caught up the shotgun from the floor and placed it out of reach. Another quickly slipped handcuffs onto the woman's wrists. "Now that we have her, what are we going to do with her?" the sheriff asked bluntly. Nancy turned toward him. "Sheriff, may I question the prisoner?" Goriki says, "I watched a Clue analysis video and none of the theatrical endings, even the alleged here's what really happened, would have been possible." Yeah. But that's the style of the story that it is in the first place. "Sheriff, may I ask the question? May I question the prisoner?" She's not a legal person. She's not representing the police. And this is not a legally appropriate place to be doing it. But yeah, sure, go ahead and question the prisoner. Go ahead, but I'm afraid you'll not get much out of her. "I'll try anyway," Nancy said, smiling. She faced the woman and demanded, "Where is Nathan Gombert?" "Why don't you just tell the sheriff to ask her?" "How come you ask me? I ain't keeping track of that man just 'cause I works here." "But hey, where's that's where the ridiculousness comes in, says PJ, about it not being feasible, any of the endings. "You're not fooling anyone," Nancy replied. "Sorry, I'm dealing with two things at once, reading the story and reading the comments." Nancy replied sharply, "I know that you're not only Nathan Gombert's servant, but his partner in crime as well." The woman assumed an innocent expression. "What you talk? Crime? What you mean crime? I just an old coloured woman who makes her victuals working. You can't bluff me with your scary talk." "I'm not bluffing. It will be best for you to tell us where he is. If you don't, you'll be behind bars within an hour." "For doing what?" "For resisting an officer. Isn't that true, Sheriff?" "Yes, I reckon it is. Actually, threatening one is more arrestable." "The woman has laid herself open to imprisonment by trying to thwart justice." "Now will you tell?" Nancy looked straight into the old woman's eyes as she asked the question. For a moment the woman met her gaze defiantly, and then a frightened look came over her face and she began to whine. I'll tell, don't send me to no jail," she implored. "Please, Mr. Sheriff." "Then if you don't want to go to jail, tell us where Nathan Gombert is hiding." The woman eyed the girl sullenly for an instant, then pointed to the floor above. "Up there," she mumbled. "He's up there with the prisoner." Thwart justice. Wasn't she aiming a loaded shotgun at it? Yeah, exactly. That's a much more serious crime. And there were witnesses. "Prisoner?" Nancy exclaimed, giving the sheriff a quick glance. "What prisoner?" The woman stubbornly shook her head. "We'll find out who you mean," Nancy declared. She turned to the sheriff with decision. "We must capture Nathan Gombert before he escapes. If he's upstairs, he may have heard us and try to get away through the secret passage." Duh! No kidding! "He'll not get away," the sheriff assured her grimly. Delegating one man to remain below to guard the woman, he ordered the other deputies to follow him. This is like Keystone Cops all over. There's a string of them all chasing after each other up the stairs and down. Nancy, who could not bear to remain behind, crept up the stairs after them. At the top landing, the party paused, undecided which way to go. As they hesitated, the sound of a harsh, rasping voice reached their ears. They didn't leave anyone guarding. No, they didn't! And they haven't left anyone guarding any of the passages or the outside doors in the house next door either. And with the stroke of one chapter, Scooby-Doo and the Samurai Ghost is suddenly an intellectual adventure. Absolutely. I think the writers of Scooby-Doo got their inspiration from these stories. Oh my goodness. As they hesitated, the sound of a harsh, rasping voice reached their ears. "Listen," Nancy commanded in a tense whisper. Instantly she recognized the voice. It belonged to Nathan Gombert. As she listened intently, the man began to speak again, and she caught the words distinctly. I give you just 1 minute, Carson Drew. If you don't sign that paper before then, I'll... Nancy did not hear the rest of the threat, for Nathan's voice had dropped to a lower pitch. I think the author means volume. What could it mean? Had Nathan held her father a prisoner in the house? Well, that's a pretty obvious possibility. She turned frightened eyes towards the sheriff. They're in that room, she whispered, pointing to the chamber in which her father was imprisoned, except that she still didn't know this for sure. The sheriff nodded and, with his pistol held ready for instant use, moved softly toward the room. Quick as he was, Nancy was ahead of him. Without a thought for her own safety, now that she knew her father was in danger, she flung open the door. At a glance, she took in the situation. Her father, haggard and pale, was suffering, was bound to a chair, and Nathan Gombert, a taunting grin on his evil face, was bending over him. "If you don't sign this paper, you'll never get out of here," he snarled. At the sound of the opening door, the miser wheeled about and saw Nancy Drew. As he instinctively retreated, she advanced. The police... I wonder if there's another tunnel in this room. Tunnel entrance, trapdoor. "The police will have something to say to you," she said tensely. As Nancy Drew spoke, the sheriff and his men closed in around Nathan Gombert. I'm used to sheriffs being extra useless even for police, but this is ridiculous. Teenage girl leading them, even though she followed them timidly up the stairs. The men closed in around Nathan Gombert. "Your game's up," the sheriff announced, covering the miser with his pistol. Not a blanket, thanks, PJ. Instinctively retreated from a 15-year-old girl. She must have had a look of murder on her face to make him retreat like that. Oh, my goodness. Let's just see how many chapters we've got after this one. Oh, this is the last one. Okay. No, I want to go back. No, I want to go back to the chapter. Sorry. Trying to hit the button, and it's just such a tiny little word. Chapter 25, captured. Nathan Gombert's shifty eyes roved to the door, and suddenly he made a spring for it. One of the deputies caught him roughly by the arm and dragged him back. "Oh, no, you don't." No, I'm hearing pantomimes. "Oh, no, you don't." "Oh, yes, we do." "Oh, no, you don't." "Oh, yes, we do." Yes, let the bitty little waif run point on the raid. Absolutely. Honestly, I remember when my sister was that sort of age, and I don't blame him for retreating. You're going to have to tell her that yourself, PJ, next time you talk to her. Oh, my goodness. "Oh, no, you don't. Handcuff him," the sheriff ordered. Since when do the deputies have to be told to handcuff someone who is threatening somebody else like this and is holding them prisoner in the house? Isn't that meant to be a normal thing? Or at least the deputy checks with the sheriff instead of having to be told to? Oh, my goodness. The miser saw that escape was cut off entirely. As the realization came over him, he wilted and offered little resistance when the handcuffs were snapped upon his wrists. Nancy immediately lost interest in the miser and ran to her father. Frantically, she began to work at the ropes which bound him to the chair. "Oh, Dad," she murmured brokenly, "are you hurt?" "Oh, I'll be all right." Carson Drew forced a wan smile. "Couldn't have stood it much longer, though, if you hadn't come just when you did." With the aid of one of the deputies who had a knife, Nancy quickly cut the ropes and set her father free. In relief, he stretched his cramped limbs. Just remind me about ropes when we get to the end. Normal left 6 chapters ago. Yeah, he wasn't cuffed yet. I know. Akamos says, I can't speak for everywhere, but where I'm from, deputies are most friends of the sheriff or children of his friends. Ah, okay. So a little bit sort of like waiting for him to be a little bit more direct about what needs to be done because we ain't got a clue. Oh, my goodness. With the aid of one of the deputies who had a knife, probably his pocket knife, And Nancy quickly cut the ropes and set her father free. In relief, he stretched his cramped limbs, slowly getting upon his feet. He took a step forward and would have collapsed had Nancy not helped him. Wearily, he sank down upon the chair again. "Legs feel paralysed," he complained. "Don't you want me to call a doctor?" Nancy asked as she began to rub the cramped muscles. It's a weird way to say, "I'm going to call a doctor," not "don't you want me to." He didn't say not to, so why is she questioning it? Carson Drew shook his head. "No, I'll be all right after a while. I'm just weak. If only I could have a glass of water. That fiend hasn't given me anything to eat or drink for more than 24 hours. My throat is parched." "I'll get you a drink," Nancy cried. No, I'm not even going to ask questions about what sort of drink. She darted from the room and hurried downstairs to the kitchen, pumping a cold drink of water at the sink. Water pump instead of taps, yes. She paused only long enough to step to the outside door and call Rosemary and Floretta Turnbull, who were still waiting anxiously in the roadster. They came in response to her summons and followed her upstairs. "Tell us everything, Dad," Nancy begged as she gave her father the glass of water. Carson Drew set down the tumbler, which he had emptied at one draught, and fastened his eyes upon Nathan Gombert. "That man induced me to come here by trickery," he explained, a hard glint coming into his eyes. "He has tortured me here for several days, trying to force me to sign over money to him." "Well, he won't try any more of his tricks," the sheriff broke in. "We'll have him behind prison bars inside of 20 minutes. He turned to the prisoner. "What have you to say for yourself?" "Nothing," Gombert muttered sullenly. "Do you admit that you were trying to get money which did not belong to you?" Carson Drew questioned sharply. Nathan Gombert did not reply. "You'll talk all right when we get you to the station," the sheriff told him harshly. "It's no use to deny your guilt. You were caught in the act." He picked up a piece of paper from the table and glanced at it. "Is this the agreement he was trying to force you to sign, Mr. Drew?" The lawyer nodded. "Yes, he wanted me to turn over a large sum of money and then promise not to prosecute." The sheriff folded the paper and put it in his pocket. "I'll keep this for evidence." And don't forget he tried to force us from our home," Rosemary Turnbull broke in. "We intend to file a charge against him." "I didn't mean no harm," Gombert grunted. "Oh, no," Rosemary retorted sarcastically. "I suppose those nightly visits of yours were merely friendly calls." "I thought I saw an easy way to make a little money. I offered to buy your house." "Yes, at your price," Floretta sniffed. "It was a cowardly trick to try to cheat the two women," Carson Drew observed. "He nearly succeeded, too," Rosemary declared feelingly. "If it hadn't been for Nancy Drew, we'd have been forced to give up our home. We couldn't have stood it there another day." For some time Nancy had remained silent, but now she turned to the old miser. "When did you first discover the hidden staircase?" she questioned curiously. Nathan hesitated as though debating whether or not to tell. "You'd better make a clean breast of everything. It'll go easier for you if you do," the sheriff warned him. "Although none of these questions should be asked here, they should be asked in an interrogation room, and notes should be being taken if this is before the days of recordings being made." "It was 2 months ago," Nathan muttered. "Found the hidden spring by accident." "You explored the staircase and discovered that it led to the Turnbull mansion?" Gombert nodded. "How many openings are there into this house?" "Only the one in the room where I kept my birds." "There's one more thing I want to know," Nancy continued. "It was you who sent me the threatening note warning me not to come to the Turnbull mansion, wasn't it?" "Oh, yeah, mansion. How many have we had so far?" "Definitely more than one." "I know there's 2. Come on, everybody. We all have a drink of water every time the word mansion is used, or the word window. And we also have window because... No, she didn't look out the window and tell them. That was in my head. And if somebody can tell me how many were actually said in this sentence, in this chapter, then that's good. "Yes, I sent it," the man grunted. "How did you learn that I was going there?" Hid in the staircase, heard the old ladies talking about the letter you'd sent. Just as I suspected, and now where are the things you took from their house? What things? Oh, you needn't pretend, Floretta broke in, enraged. You took our silver urn and a diamond pin. And a pocketbook and a silver spoon, to say nothing of Floretta's silk dresses, Rosemary added severely. This would be the servant. Silk dresses? I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, yes, you do, Nancy told him quietly. It won't do you any good to deny it, for we intend to search the house from cellar to garret, and you may as well tell us what you have done with the things. Nancy Gombert debated the question silently, and then muttered reluctantly, You'll find them in my room. Which room is that? Straight across the hall. Maybe he was going to bribe the servant? I don't know. I didn't think he was going to be the one who took it. Nancy hurried from the room without waiting for more. Rosemary and Floretta followed her eagerly. As they flung open the door of the bedroom, they gave a little cry of pleasure, for on the dresser stood the silver urn. I keep thinking it's a cremation urn. Silver urn. Weird. What a relief! Rosemary cried, rushing forward and snatching it up. It's a wonder he didn't try to dispose of it. Floretta, who had been investigating the closet, triumphantly brought out an armload of dresses. Why would this grumpy old man who's a miser have silk dresses in his wardrobe? We shan't go there. But where is the diamond pin? Rosemary demanded. That is the most valuable of all. Is this it? Nancy, who had opened a bureau drawer, held up a tiny object. Eagerly, Floretta reached for it. That's it. Oh, I'm so glad. And here's the spoon, Nancy continued, removing it from the drawer, and the pocketbook. The money is gone, though. Oh, we don't care about that, Rosemary said quickly. There wasn't much in the pocketbook anyway. Then everything's here, Nancy declared. Armed with the booty, the three returned to the chamber across the hall and disclosed their findings. Obviously, we don't take fingerprints off evidence in these days. When did that start really happening? I thought that was already a done thing by this era. They returned to the chamber across the hall and disclosed their findings. It's a clear case of theft, all right, the sheriff said as he examined the articles. We'll take this fella to jail and lock him up. He's a dangerous character and ought not to be at large. How about the servant? Nancy questioned. She's an accomplice, Mr. Drew put in. Take her along. The sheriff grasped Nathan Gombert roughly by the arm. Oh my goodness, Goriki has redeemed I Hear Voices. Once the story is over, you have Rosemary's voice to wrap up and say goodbye. Lovely. Rosemary's is a slightly lower one, so it's going to be a little more sustainable. So that's good. Thank you. The sheriff grasped Nathan Gombert roughly by the arm and shoved him toward the door. Two of the deputies helped Carson Drew downstairs. The old miser and the servant were put into the police car, and the sheriff and his men drove away, leaving Nancy and her father to say goodbye to the Turnbull sisters. We'll see to it that the various openings into the staircase are boarded up, Rosemary told the lawyer. With Nathan in jail, we probably will never be bothered again. She regarded Carson Drew anxiously. You don't look a bit well. You're in no condition to return to River Heights tonight. I think I can make it, Carson Drew replied. He's not going to be driving. Nancy's going to be driving. Nonsense. You must spend the night at the mansion. Floretta and I will be delighted to have you. A good rest will do wonders for you. You need a good meal, too. To tell the truth, I don't feel very strong, the lawyer admitted. Are you certain it won't inconvenience you if I stay? Of course not. What a thing to ask. After all your daughter has done for us. No, it's all settled. You must stay at the mansion until you have recovered your strength. And we promise you that there will be no ghosts to trouble you, Floretta added with a laugh. So it was decided. Nancy helped her father into the roadster and drove him to the mansion. As soon as she saw that he was comfortably settled on the sofa, she returned for the Turnbull sisters. Obviously, it doesn't have a lot of seating room in this car. Although Carson Drew had suffered a great deal at the hands of Nathan Gombert, he had received no permanent injury. His strength gradually returned and he began to walk with less difficulty. Food and rest accomplished wonders. After a good night's rest, he appeared at the breakfast table and announced that he felt able to travel. We were hoping that you would stay another day, Floretta said regretfully after the lawyer had announced his decision to return to River Heights that morning. There's plenty of room in the roadster once you go downstairs to the lower level. Absolutely. I'm afraid I must go, the lawyer returned. My business has been neglected the past week, you know. By the way, have you heard anything more about Nathan Gombert? The entire story is in the morning papers. Rosemary turned to Nancy with a warm smile. Haven't you seen them? Not yet, Nancy admitted. You're certainly in the limelight, Floretta told her. Evidently the reporters learned everything from the sheriff. Nancy caught up one of the papers, and as her eyes scanned the story on the front page, a deep flush crept into her cheeks. Mercy, I don't deserve all the credit, she protested modestly. Indeed you do, Rosemary told her firmly. She glanced significantly at Floretta, who nodded firmly. I hardly know how to begin, she went on, addressing Nancy with some hesitation, but I want you to know how much Floretta and I appreciate what you have done for us. I was glad to be able to do what little I could, Nancy declared graciously. It was really fun for me. I thoroughly enjoy a mystery, though for a time I thought this one would prove my undoing. This one, it's only her second mystery. And if the lower, PJ says, and if the lower level isn't enough, try going through the secret passage to the sub-basement. Goriki says, it's a car though, so it's an iron ring, not a copper or a brass one. Might even be steel, says PJ. But how are you going to know which one it is? You might have to lick it to see what flavour it is. I thought this one would prove my undoing. We want to reward you for what you did, Rosemary went on earnestly. Oh, I don't want any reward, Nancy exclaimed. You know, we discussed that before. We were afraid you wouldn't take any money, Floretta sighed. So we've decided to give you a little gift as a remembrance, Rosemary continued. We want you to accept our silver urn. Your urn? Nancy gasped. Oh, I couldn't do that. Why, it's a valuable heirloom and you prize it highly. We want you to have it, Floretta insisted stubbornly. We'll feel hurt if you don't take it. It will serve as a reminder of your adventure in the mansion, Rosemary coaxed. Please take it. Uncle George really does prefer getting about a little more than he does when his ashes stay in our house all the time. Sorry, to me, urns are containers for cremated remains. Yes, the urn, Grandpapa is still in it. Yeah, exactly. Please take it. As she spoke, she picked up a wrapped package from the table and handed it to Nancy. If you insist, I'm afraid I can't refuse, Nancy said as she accepted the urn. There's nothing in the world I'd rather have. This will make my second trophy. I'll keep it on the mantel with the clock. The cackles and the laughs over there. I hear you guys. After thanking the Turnbull sisters for the gift and for their generous hospitality, Nancy and her father departed. Floretta and Rosemary watched them until they had disappeared down the road. For a time, Nancy and her father rode in silence, and then Carson Drew turned to his daughter with a look of deep admiration in his eyes. That was a neat piece of detective work you did, he said. Everything turned out all right, Nancy admitted. But when I was going through that dark tunnel the night I discovered it, I told myself I'd never dabble in another mystery as long as I lived if I ever got out of there alive. Do you intend to live up to that? Not if I can help it. Now that you're safe and the mystery's solved, I'm aching for another one. I suppose that's all the good it'll do me, though. Aching for it. Oh, I don't know, Mr. Drew smiled. This affair has won you quite a reputation. Indeed, Nancy Drew's days of adventure were by no means over. Before many months had elapsed, she was destined to be involved in another mystery case, equally as baffling as the one she had just solved. Readers who wish to follow her strange adventures may do so in the next volume of the series entitled The Bungalow Mystery. But as Nancy Drew drove along the smooth road, she had no idea of what was in store for her. So it was that a semi-melancholy expression settled over her face. Carson Drew, who noticed the look, laughed aloud. You're a true daughter of your old dad, all right, Nancy, pining for another mystery before you're well out of this one. Oh, I wasn't pining exactly, Nancy declared gaily, resolutely shaking off the mood of despondency which had claimed her for the moment. I just couldn't help thinking that perhaps this would be my last chance to solve a mystery, and I do enjoy detective work. Don't worry. Opportunity will come knocking at your door sooner than you expect, her father told her lightly. A good detective is always in demand. Meaning that I'm that? Nancy demanded, a happy light in her eyes. Carson Drew nodded and gazed tenderly upon his daughter. Meaning that I am mighty proud of you, Nancy. From this day on I intend to turn over my mystery cases to you. His eyes twinkled mischievously. As a detective, you have me backed completely off the map. The end. He's a lawyer. Why would he have had mystery cases? He's a lawyer. Why would he have had mystery cases? I do not know. It is beyond me. And Shu is redeeming ears to you, and let me guess which one she wants. Oh, sorry. Shu has redeemed ears to you. Let me guess which ones she wants. So for those who haven't been here before, one of the redeems is Ariel, what's all this about? Which is where we spin a randomizing wheel over here, and it randomly selects one of a series of ears and headbands that I may be going to wear. But Shu has splashed out, and she has redeemed the higher value one for which she chooses which headband or ears I am going to be wearing, and so it shall be top knots. Thus, and so it is. Indeed, it is top knots, for the duration, I guess. Top knots! Oh no, I'm predictable, LOL. Not a problem at all. Right, and there we go. What is up for us next time? Just ignore the little wee thing over there at the moment because, you know, whatever. I would show you the cat, but I can't. Because the cat camera, which I reattached and restarted and everything, is not detecting at the moment, unlike Nancy Drew. I'm not quite sure what the problem is with it, but I shall have to investigate a little more thoroughly and find out, because the little app that I use for its settings detected it. I even unplugged it and plugged it in again, and my antivirus program detected it, and usually when that is the case, it makes it available to my broadcast software. And then I use studio mode and actually go to the scene that is just that camera and deactivate it and reactivate it, and then it becomes available in any other scene that I choose to have it in. But nay, it was of naught. There was nothing that came of it. You did not get to see the cat on camera, except for when I picked him up earlier on, and you cannot do that now because he is snoozing so very beautifully. You just have to take my word for it. I can't even take a photograph and share that with you because my phone refuses to cooperate. My phone does not want to be taking photographs for me. If I open the camera app, usually it will not focus at all, and it's nothing to do with if there's anything on the lens. It's just decided that the camera app is not working properly anymore. I think physically there's something that's not quite right with it. If it does not freeze up, which is one of the other options of what happens with it, then if I manage to remember and go to the extras mode and choose macro, super macro, it doesn't give me a high quality picture, but it will actually take an image that is in focus, but that only works about 1 in 6 times. The rest of the time the camera just freezes up. And then if I try opening it after that, it flashes up and then it's gone again, and I can do nothing about it. It would be rude to pick up a snoozing cat. This is known. Thank you, Arthur. Thank you indeed. I appreciate your understanding of the predicament that I am in. So, what shall be happening after today's stream? So, next time I stream will be in 2 days from now. So, today here in New Zealand, it is Monday the 11th of May. It is now, the time is, as you see now, 2:51 p.m. If you are wondering what time I shall next be streaming, you just go to my schedule page, trying to spell correctly, and that shall give it to you in your time zone, the correct time and day of the week for you. Unless, of course, you are using a VPN or you are going to be somewhere else at the time when you are doing so. Forget let sleeping dogs lie, much better to let snoozing cats. Let's try all those words again. They were not very good indeed, were they? PJ says, forget let sleeping dogs lie. Far better to let snoozing cats nap, or let napping cats snooze. Either. Definitely far better. Either of those 2 options. So, next time we stream, which is in 2 days from now, unless something comes up which prevents. No one knows, but the intention is. Words indeed can be used as weapons, but they are also sometimes very confusing. Words, I am having a difficult time with them today. Yes, indeed. So next time I stream, I am intending to be playing Palia, because there will be a very large, significant update, and it is the something or other Highlands. Let me have a look. And I shall tell you which one it is, because they have mentioned it several times. Royal Highlands, that is the new update that is coming, and we shall have horses to ride within the game. So I'm looking forward to, not the horses to ride, I don't find that such a necessary concept. It's not something that particularly appeals to me, but we will have a whole new adventure space, a new map that we can explore, which is the best thing for me. As a gamer, I am the exploratory type. Yes, I do grind minerals and fish for fish, and in Palia, fish for crabs and fish for snails and all sorts of things. Actually, no, we go bug catching for those ones. But grinding resources, yes, I do a lot of that sort of thing, but the biggest thing that I really enjoy in Palia is when we have a new area to explore, and I really explore it, and I discover all the hidden nooks and crannies and chests and potential for places that we might be using to extend the story a little more. So I'm looking forward to that, and that should be available to us on Wednesday, my Wednesday, maybe not yours, depending on where you are joining us from. It may be your Tuesday, maybe your Tuesday night. Anyway, so I am looking forward to it, the Royal Highlands expansion, which is launching on May the 12th for North America, but time zone-wise it shall be May the 13th, which shall be my actual streaming day. But if all goes according to plan, by the time I am streaming in the afternoon, the game should have stabilized enough for me to be able to play and share with you. it will be a first look for me with the new update. So, as far as I know, that's what's going to be happening. If that doesn't work, we shall cross that bridge when we come to it, I guess. One of the other things I do enjoy about Palia is the fact that we can climb and jump and glide and things like that. We're not strictly stuck to a single plane of movement, which is what we have in Dreamlight Valley, which is the other game I mainly play on stream. But swings and roundabouts, I guess. Horses and magical surfboards, if you want to do comparisons. Palia isn't an asylum either. No, it is not. But it is a rather imaginary world. Sounds like Guriki is considering getting back into it as a game. It's not really his style of game. We do a lot of building things and stuff like that these days. A lot of people do on their sites. I'm not very good at that. I have a tendency to do things like, I wonder how high I can get up until I meet the collision boundaries for the site that they have allocated for our housing plot. And I have got that far. And if you try jumping up to the next step that you have placed, you may be able to place the step there, but when you jump, your head goes above that level. It teleports you back to the entrance to your plot. Things like that. But there are places I have managed to climb up the cliffs and gone beyond the collision boundaries because they haven't been linked up quite as well as what some people had thought they were going to be. And I have gone through behind the wall. I have been behind the curtain. Yes, and I have seen Oz himself, and he was not as impressive as you thought he might be. And I fell through the map, and I fell, and I fell, and I fell, and in the end I just opened the map. The M on the keyboard map, and teleported home because I was just going to be falling indefinitely, and I didn't wish to spend the rest of my days falling through infinity and watching the world disappearing above me. It was of no appeal whatsoever, and so I returned home thusly. And thank you so much, everybody, for keeping me company here. I do hope you have been mildly entertained, if not greatly entertained. Please, please, please look after yourselves all, one and all. Make sure you stay, I insist, stay hydrated. You know you do not drink enough water, so go and get some when we have finished. Stay hydrated and make sure you also check out the ModLearn video. If you are a streamer, very important for you to know all of these things down here. If you are a moderator, even more so. If you are a moderator for someone else who streams, not just randomly, you might want to insist that your pet streamer takes up some of these principles that are covered so very thoroughly in the ModLearn videos. There are 3. The first one is the most essential because it is the foundation upon which the rest are built. Please do partake of them. And if you are a viewer, these things will inform you of ways that some of us streamers do try to take care of you in our spaces so that your information is not stolen, so you remain in a safe space. You are not being offered scammy or spammy offers in links that go to nefarious websites or any of these other things that go on. Things that create a place that people want to be when they are watching a streamer instead of regretting that they have made the choice to be here. Do take care of yourself. Do watch the ModLearn